Hi everyone, and welcome to our screencast on world religions. Today we're going to briefly discuss or have an overview of the world religions, their impact on culture and society, and then also we'll take a closer look at monotheism, because in this particular unit we'll be focusing on three monotheistic religions. We don't have time to cover every single religion out there, but the three monotheistics that we'll be covering will be Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But this will provide some context regarding world religions and why it's so important to get a good grasp of them. Okay, first, a religion is a set of beliefs and practices used to express those beliefs. Okay, so a religion isn't just the mindset, but it's actually how people engage in certain activities as a result of these mindsets. Okay, religion is also a key component of all cultures. Okay, so if you look at the United States, for example, we have traditionally been a very Christian nation, and we're still at the point where well over 50% of the country considers themselves a religious person or affiliated with a particular religious group that is Christian. Okay, each religion also has its own set of beliefs, celebrations, and worship styles. Okay, so we'll be taking a look at each of these as we go through the three monotheistic religions. Most also have their own sacred texts, symbols, and sites. As you can see below, there are some common symbols. The top three should be familiar to most of you. If not, they will be soon. That's the symbol for Christianity, for Islam, and for Judaism. All of these characteristics help unite followers regardless of where they live. So for instance, this is a picture of Mecca for the Islamic religion. And people from every part of the world you can imagine go to this one particular place to engage in a religious practice. Okay, so it's sometimes a divisive thing, but overall religion is a great unifying factor throughout the world. Okay, religion is an important component of any civilization, shaping how people conduct their daily lives and also how they interact with one another in society. And a lot of times and in a lot of places, interactions between each other depend on what religion each person is, but also the religious beliefs of that particular group, how inclusive they are, how combative they are. A lot of times that depends on the religious doctrine that they're following. Okay, the diffusion of religion throughout the world has been caused by four particular things. By diffusion, I mean spread, okay, from the place that it started to where it spread to. One has been simply by migration. As people migrated throughout the world, throughout history, they brought their religions with them. Second, missionary work. That means people go out and actively try to kind of recruit people into their religion. Okay, the United States, a lot of missionaries came here and converted Native Americans in colonial times, but it's been happening throughout the world, throughout history. Trade. Okay, as people engaged in overseas trade and overland trade, they brought with them their religions and customs to new regions. Okay, so they went primarily for economic activity, but spread their customs as well. And then lastly, through warfare. Okay, sometimes when one group conquered another, they would force conversions into that particular religion. So a lot of local religions over history have died out, but some of the major religions have gained popularity and have gained a following partly through conquest and war. Okay, monotheism. That means the belief in one God. Okay, and in most of our unit we'll be focusing on the three major monotheistic religions. Those three are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Okay, while Christianity and Islam spread throughout the world through missionary activities, which we briefly mentioned a couple slides ago, Judaism is typically associated with a particular cultural group. So if you take a look at the picture to the left there, that is an example of a missionary in colonial times trying to convert Native Americans. The picture on the right is a picture of people that practice Judaism, and one difference there is that a lot of people, when they refer to Judaism, Jewish culture, it's not just the religious aspect, but it's also the ethnic and cultural aspect of being Jewish. That's not necessarily the case for everybody. Okay, people can be Jewish ethnically, but not religiously. But that is a little bit of a difference between the three. Okay, although some individuals convert, most people are born into their religion. Actually, a vast majority are. So typically, whatever your parents are, you end up becoming part of that religion. There are other cases, though. I mean, there are some famous people in the United States, for instance, like Muhammad Ali, who converted over to Islam well into his adulthood. Okay, so it does happen, but for the most part, you're typically the same religion as your parents or whatever you were raised to be. Okay, close contact and differences in beliefs have resulted in conflict between religious groups throughout history. An example in the picture below is actually there was an era of religious wars in France where there was a battle between the Catholics and the Protestants at the time, involving thousands and thousands of people murdered over religion. This still happens today in some parts of the world. For instance, later in the year we're going to discuss the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Religion isn't the only reason they're fighting there, but a lot of it is driven by religious belief and cultural practices. So there is still this conflict with us today, rooted in religious doctrine. Okay, I'd like to finish up by taking a quick look at a chart of a population by religion. As you can see in this pie chart, Christianity is by far the largest religion in the world. It has 2.1 billion followers. Next, though, in a growing number is Muslim. Okay, Muslim is a term for someone who is a follower of Islam. That's at about 1.5 billion. Okay, and a lot of people think that gap is closing between the number of Muslims and Christians. The third most would be Hindu. Now, you actually have to do some searching through this to find Judaism. Okay, Jewish is about 14 million. Okay, so 14 million compared to the 2.1 billion of Christianity may seem like a rather insignificant population of people, but there are several reasons why we're going to study Judaism more in depth, partly because it was one of the founding monotheistic religions in the world, and they still are very much an important cultural group in the United States, but also in the Middle East, which we'll be covering later in the year when we discuss the Cold War conflict, but primarily the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in the Middle East right now. Okay, so that's it for our overview on world religions. Hope you learned something in the screencast today. See you in class.